Imagine waking up tomorrow. Same face, same job, same routine. Never realizing someone else has quietly been living your life. Not another person. You. The version your smallest choices have been creating every single day. Remember, transformation doesn't ask for permission. It happens whether you're paying attention or not. So here's the question. Who are you becoming without even noticing? There is something the world rarely celebrates, not because it lacks importance, but because almost no one can see it. Every morning the gardener walks the same quiet path, presses his hands into the earth, waters what looks, to any passing eye, like nothing at all. Today, nothing. Tomorrow, the same ground. A month later, still nothing. To impatient eyes, this is wasted effort. But nature has never confused stillness with stagnation. Long before the first leaf reaches toward light, something extraordinary is already happening beneath the surface, where applause can't reach. The roots are reaching, not for today's sun, but for storms that haven't arrived yet. The deepest growth is almost always invisible, and the person who can't tolerate invisibility rarely finishes what they start. Most people quit here, not because nothing is happening, because nothing can be seen. We're taught to chase visible progress, but life rarely transforms us through extraordinary moments. It changes us through repetitions too ordinary to notice. One page read before the world wakes, one hard conversation had instead of avoided, one promise kept when no one would have known if it broke. Each one small enough to forget, together, large enough to become a life. Habits don't announce their arrival. They return, tomorrow, then the morning after, until they stop being something you do and quietly become someone you are. The world celebrates fruit. Nature rewards roots. The world admires confidence. Life builds character in silence. Imagine if roots only grew while someone watched. No forest would survive. Perhaps people aren't so different. The moments that shape us most are rarely the moments the world remembers. The mornings we chose discipline over comfort, patience over applause, again and again. One seed becomes a tree. One habit becomes a character. One character can change a life, and maybe a generation. Tomorrow, someone may admire your strength, your peace. They'll see the branches. Very few will think to thank the roots. So the question was never whether something is growing. It's what you're becoming while no one is looking. Because beneath every extraordinary life lies an ordinary habit, faithfully repeated, long before the world believed it mattered. And every cathedral begins the same way. There's a lie almost every dreamer eventually believes, and it sounds reasonable, almost merciful. Today's effort won't make a difference. So they wait for more time, more motivation, for tomorrow to matter more than today. But the mason knows what the impatient mind forgets. No cathedral has ever appeared in a single morning. Everything that outlives its maker begins the same way. One faithful brick, then another. Visit tomorrow and you'd struggle to see what changed. The mason never asks, "How do I build the entire cathedral?" That question would crush anyone. He asks only, "Where does today's brick belong?" Not glamorous, not worth applause. Yet every evening, the wall stands one brick higher than it did that morning. Mastery has never belonged to one profession. The artist, the athlete, the parent, the craftsman, they all build the same way. One faithful brick, repeated long enough to become excellence. History remembers the cathedral. It forgets the 1,000 mornings that made it possible. The finished symphony, not the lonely rehearsals. The published book, not the pages rewritten in silence. The world calls it talent. History calls it repetition. Brick by brick, what once felt like discipline begins to feel like identity. You stop asking whether you feel like showing up, because showing up has quietly become who you are. The wall that gets finished isn't the fastest one built, it's the one where nobody left a brick unlaid. And while the mason was building his cathedral, someone else was being built without even realizing it. There's something quietly honest about a mirror. It never flatters, never condemns. It shows only who's been standing there all along. Some mornings he barely notices his reflection. same face, same tired eyes. And that's exactly why real transformation is so easy to miss. While it's happening, it rarely looks like change. Enough mistakes to convince most people they simply weren't meant for the craft. But he returns tomorrow anyway. Not because he feels confident, but because he made himself a promise. Character is built long before confidence arrives. Every ordinary decision casts a vote. Not for your future, but for your identity. A promise kept when no one's watching. A hard conversation you don't avoid. One decision changes very little. Thousands change the person making them. One morning, something shifts. Hands that once trembled move without hesitation. No miracle occurred, only ordinary days, faithfully lived. Motivation is a visitor. It arrives without warning and leaves the same way. Identity builds a home, because identity doesn't ask, "How do I feel today?" It asks, "Who am I becoming?" The gardener grew roots. The mason built walls. The apprentice built himself. But every life must face one final test. Not whether it can begin, but whether it can keep believing before momentum ever arrives. There comes a season, in almost every meaningful life, when faith gets difficult, not because the work has gotten harder, but because the results have stayed invisible for so long. The greatest danger was never failure. It's believing that nothing is happening. Imagine an old water wheel, heavy and weathered. Judge each push only by what you can see, and you'll probably stop pushing. Many people do, not from lack of talent, but because they quit one push too soon. The wheel was never resisting you. It was remembering you. Every push left something behind. Not enough to celebrate, but enough to make the next push slightly easier. Momentum is invisible until it isn't. People watching from the outside call it luck. They see the turning wheel. They never saw the 1,000 pushes before it. There's a hidden law woven into every meaningful pursuit. Small actions compound, quietly, patiently, relentlessly, until one day they produce results far greater than the effort that created them. The seed, the brick, the apprentice, the wheel, different stories, the same truth. So many people never discover what they were capable of. They mistook the silence before momentum for the absence of progress and left while the wheel was already learning to turn. Don't measure today's effort by today's result. Measure it by the direction it quietly moves your life. Because those who remain faithful long enough eventually discover something beautiful. Growth was never about reaching the harvest. It was always about becoming the kind of tree capable of bearing fruit. Every tree you've ever admired began as something easy to overlook, a seed no taller than your hand. The gardener never planted because the seed looked impressive. He planted because he trusted what it could become. Every harvest is a memory of forgotten mornings. Then, one ordinary morning, the invisible became visible. Fruit hung from every branch. People came for the fruit. Few ever wondered about the roots. That has always been the way of the world. It celebrates what is seen. Life transforms us through what is hidden. Healthy trees never struggle to bear fruit. They simply can't help producing what they've become. Aristotle had a word for this. Telos. The end a thing is built towards the fullest version of its own nature. An acorn doesn't strive to become an oak. It simply becomes one, if nothing stops it. Character works the same way. Kindness, integrity, patience, wisdom, peace, all fruit. None of it can be manufactured in a moment. Many people spend their lives chasing the fruit. Very few choose to become the tree. Perhaps that has always been the journey of every meaningful life. Not self-improvement, self-giving. One day, someone will live a better life because of the person you quietly became. Perhaps your child, a friend, a stranger whose name you'll never know. That's legacy. Not what you leave behind, but what continues because you lived. Long after the applause has faded, after titles and achievements have become history, one question remains. Did your life produce something worth sharing? Did your habits create a person whose presence made the world lighter, kinder, wiser, more hopeful. Perhaps the greatest achievement was never becoming extraordinary. Perhaps it was becoming the kind of person others felt safe to grow beside. Every seed carries a forest within it. Every ordinary day carries a future within it. And every habit quietly carries the person you are becoming. So when the world finally sees your fruit, remember, it was never grown in a single season. It was grown one faithful day at a time. And now, the story belongs to you, your story. There will be mornings when nothing seems to change. Plant anyway, lay the brick, return, and push regardless. Because whether you realize it or not, you are already becoming someone. Not every choice changes your life. Every choice changes you. And eventually, you change your life. Perhaps that has always been the quiet law of existence. Our future isn't created by what we achieve. It's created by who we become while achieving it. My friend, what will you quietly build today?